Good morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. You're locked into Conscious Minds TV with myself, DVG. And today I have a very special guest. He's a young brother who reached out to me, watched some of my videos. He's an up and coming astrologer. He goes by the name of Bublynn. And we chatted last week for the first time and we connected very well. We study a lot of the same stuff. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for him to get some exposure and for people to see his work. So, how you doing, brother? Thanks for joining me, man. It's a pleasure.
I'm doing so good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Uh,
thank you.
Before we get into the chat, let people know like where they can find you, like whether you have an Instagram, YouTube, or any other social media platforms.
Yeah, so I'm at Bublynn D, Bublynn D, like smile. Bublynn D, anywhere like Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. Basically, yeah, go by Bublynn Citra Beach. It's the beach. And I guess yeah, we'll learn more about it as time goes on if you get to know me. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me here.
Cool, man. Cool. What I always like to ask my guests is, was there a defining moment in your life, or did you grow up knowing this knowledge, or when did you start looking into astrology or more esoteric subjects or spirituality? Was it a defining moment or a gradual thing, or was it something your parents taught you? Give us a bit of give us a bit of background on how that all started.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like it might be more of a gradual thing in my case. I grew up just with my mom, and it was she wasn't really spiritual at all, and she still has a lot of questions when it comes to faith, and doesn't really know how to orient herself in that field. So it's more like a lost energy when it comes to faith and not knowing is where I grew up. And so as a young child, for some reason, like without any outside influence, I believed in God, and like I was like, telling my mom all these uplifting things, and then as time went on and like just seeing the world, that kind of disconnected from me. And I was like, I don't know why like I'm connecting to this stuff. It doesn't make sense to me. And so I was like, at one point I had like all this pressure on me, and I was like trying to tell my mom that I didn't know if I believed in God, and I thought it was like this big deal. And then she didn't even care. She was like, oh, whatever, like, okay. And so, but either way, this like, so that was just when I was in a really dark place. And so after I guess I really was trying to fortify myself emotionally and care for myself, I just started looking into more like um of just the world, because I got out of just being so like self-hating and like self-critical to where I started looking in the world, and the first thing I got into was politics, and I was like, oh my god. And then I just I don't know, that just led me down like a rabbit hole of like fortifying myself, because I realized how like crazy parasitic the world is. So you got to be strong to just like to just do you, basically, like things are just going to get harder type energy. So yeah, so then I don't know, basically.
It's interesting what you said about the politics, brother, because I remember in my earlier, like, see, with me, I've always been someone who's liked history and researching and just looking into things. But obviously, before I got onto my spiritual journey, I would look at the more earthly things. Hence, like you said, politics and like
Yeah.
stuff you learn at school. And so I always had that curiosity as well of looking at like things and finding out things. And I was quite into like my ancestry and looking where they came from. But as I evolved as a person and became more spiritual, I started using the same methods but looking at stuff more in relation to like the metaphysical world and
Yeah, yeah.
astrology. So same method but just more of the spiritual side.
Yeah, I think one of the things that connected me to it too was just seeing more of like the meta or like the patterns in politics, and then seeing how this related to more sacred texts and sacred things. And then like, I don't know, and then starting to, and then so there was that, right? Because I had this buddy Corrigan who's like just got really interested in like the Bible, and like we always had like really like kind of meta discussions on how things worked versus like particular things, right? And like what we associated with, I guess. And so that was a big influence. But also, I guess for astrology, for some reason, for the longest time, I always told myself when I was like writing, because I always like enjoyed rapping and stuff like this, like I wish I knew a symbolic language, and I didn't even know what that meant. And then right when I found astrology, which I was probably like 18, 19, like 2 years ago, so probably 18, right before I started working at Starbucks here in Fairbanks. Um, I just dove in. So yeah, I don't know, because it just lined up with how I saw my creativity. Like, wow, this could really boost. Like I saw it practically as useful. Like Corey, my buddy, was like, oh, I don't really know, but like I was just like, whoa, that's gonna help me be creative. Like I'm just loving learning the knowledge. I didn't care about horoscopes necessarily, but I was still kind of interested once I like got enough knowledge in me. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
same with me as well. Like at first, I like started looking at astrology more as a whole rather than looking at how to read charts and stuff. So
yeah, yeah,
I think that's quite an important thing for people. Like it's good to like take baby steps. Like so, for example,
yeah,
first
yeah.
learn about the signs, then learn about the
Or even the
planets,
elements, like the
and
elements of
yeah, the
elements.
elements. Like for people who love astrology and want to learn more about the elements, definitely go to Bublynn's channel. He's got two great video on elements, and the way he syncretizes all the information is brilliant. Maybe he's going to explain it a bit later in a little presentation he's going to do as well. So
Yeah,
maybe
totally
we can,
different with real life.
yeah,
I
we
feel
can
like.
delve into that a bit. But yeah, like I always think it's like people think they'll get it in like a few days. Like I've been studying astrology for 5 years now, and I learn new things like all the times because
Yeah, yeah,
it's such a complex science. And I just think also that with some people they just resonate with it and others don't. So and that
yeah.
there's no right or wrong. It just is what it is at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, it just depends on what you're trying to expand on, what you're interested in. Yeah.
Definitely. A question I always like to ask my guests is, what is your sun sign and what do you love most about your sun sign? And if there's anything you dislike about your sun sign, what is it you
Okay,
dislike about your sun sign?
okay. I love it. I love it. So I'm like 29 degrees Aries. So it's a little bit Taurus. So what I love about it is I still definitely feel the Aries. I feel like very fiery and I love it because personally I feel like I don't want to be too bipolar, but if I could be like crazy manic sometimes and like crazy depressed, I feel like I dig it. I'm like a roller coaster type of person. So that's amazing. Okay, what's not amazing is that I don't I don't necessarily think that long term, and like if someone isn't necessarily going to get where I'm coming from, I almost feel like there's no showing them where I'm coming from. So I feel like sometimes I can come across as just like a dick because I don't know how to like really bring down where I'm coming from. And so I feel like sometimes I can just haphazardly burn bridges and just be like, well, like this doesn't matter. But like I feel like with my ascendant being Libra and just like stuff like this, like I'm a very relatable person. So I'm like, I don't like that, but then I just kind of have to accept that sometimes where I'm like, man, like they're just not gonna get it. And I'm like, okay, like that sucks. And I just look like a dick here, but oh well.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like at least how can I say this is what another thing which is so good about astrology. You get to see and learn your weaknesses and strengths as a
Yeah,
person,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you can work on it. That's what I love about looking at your chart. And like when I looked at my chart, it was like, wow, like things just made so much sense. Like once I got the understanding of what each house meant and what each planet was and what house was what, it just I don't know, it just glued everything together for me. I think like
Great, great.
astrology is amazing. Like to me, it's something that's helped me as a person and just helped me understand the world. And I've met so many great people like yourself and tens of other people like all around the world. So to me, it's like it's a beautiful thing at the end of the day. But moving on, who are some of the other astrologers that you like to watch or that you've been inspired by?
Um, Dolo the Pilot Man.
Yep, I
Uh,
love him as well.
he's awesome. Shout
Yeah,
out. Um, let's see. Yeah, also astrotheology, Mr. Santos Bonacci. He's definitely awesome. And then when I was learning astrology, Chris Brennan definitely helped me out a lot too. And besides that, just basically I think only miscellaneous like looking up search terms kind of pop up into my head. But
yep, Yep.
But yeah,
So
Dolo, Santos Bonacci, and Chris Brennan, like, thanks for the Astrology podcast, Archangel Uriel, and yeah, Astrotheology coming out on YouTube. Like,
yeah.
props.
Yeah, I'd say the two as well. I love Dolo the pilot, man. Um, Obviously Santos has been a big influence in my work. Most of my knowledge has come from his channel and his teachings. But there's so many good people that I've just watched randomly as well. Like there's a woman in America called Rabina Rastaban. She's good. Um, who else have I watched? I watched KRS channel. Um, what other astrologers are there? KRS. What's that lady? What's her name? There's a Bulgarian lady who I like to watch as well. Yeah, there's a few different people as well. There's a lot of people that I've done shows with that are really good and do readings, like my sister Erin and Lily and Violet and I know so many astrologers. It's brilliant, like people like yourself. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's so
always
good.
good connecting. And what I love about astrology as well is, although there is a kind of a set meaning to the planets or the signs, everyone kind of utilizes it in their own unique way. And that's what I love about talking to other people. And that's what I loved about your work and the elements and how you connected it to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, because it's so crazy that I've been looking into stuff in relation to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and how it connects to the 10 Sephiroth connects to the 10 planets. So I'll be really looking forward to what you have
Yeah,
to present for
it's
us.
hard
So
to
you can
find too
go.
much stuff on like I feel like a mixture of tarot, Kabbalah, and astrology. Like at least all three combined, it's hard to find. But I feel like, but yeah, so it
Yeah,
is something maybe
if you
we
want,
could.
you can go ahead with what you was going to show us.
Okay. So one of the things I guess I just wanted to point out is the way that I view like the top four on the tree of life, which would be classically known as Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn, right? So I kind of view these as the rulers of the four elements, like honestly, Saturn being earth, Uranus being air, Neptune being water, and Pluto being fire. And that's how I almost view them as like overarching like meta. And then like, because the way that I even almost see that is like the Earth being the accumulation, like Saturn being the first one that we can see. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting because the way that I see it is even. So I guess hold on. I kind of want to show. Do you have a picture of the light spectrum you could put up? Maybe.
Oh yeah, of course I can. I can just share my screen and then I'll go to Google.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
I think that Pluto and Neptune are like the farthest away from us, but I think that Neptune resonates like the most slowly, and that Pluto resonates like the highest of frequencies. So I almost think that they're like both the farthest away, but it's like one's on the negative side and one's on the positive side, if that makes sense. Like
so
we're
you
at
want
zero.
do you want the electromagnetic a picture of the electromagnetic spectrum, right?
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So anyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
I
let's
even
go.
have like a sort of picture like that I kind of drew, but it's like haphazard, but it's kind of neat.
Okay. Oh right, I've gone to a YouTube video instead of an image. But sorry about that. Let's just click this one. Right.
Yeah, but so anyway, I almost view us as like right in the middle at like the right in between yellow and green, you know?
Yep.
And then how I view Pluto is at the very reddest, and then how I view Neptune is at the very violetest.
Yep.
So it's like they both are yin and yangs, but it's like, and they're both the farthest away from us, but just on different sides, you know?
Yep.
And then the planetary pairs just kind of come down as we get to like Earth or the center, which would just be where we're at in the middle, you know?
Yep. Totally. I totally get that. Because that would
Yeah.
be like, because obviously the other kind of duality of that, the purple is Saturn and the red is Moon as well, because um, in like my understanding of the chakras and in correlation with the planets, it starts with the lowest, the quickest orbits at red, and the slowest orbits at purple. So you got
Yeah.
moon. So you got moon is red, Mercury is orange, yellow is Venus, green is the sun, blue is Mars, and then you got indigo is Jupiter, and then you got violet, which is Saturn. So you have
Okay.
like the seven, whereas but in the tree of life you have like I see like Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I see them more as like um of transcendental planets, whereas the seven main ones I see them as more physical and more related to the Earth, whereas the other ones I see it more as related to the transcendental world and spirituality. The Uranus,
Yeah.
Neptune, and Pluto.
I almost feel that. I almost feel like Saturn's like a Mercury in a way, though, or like almost like a I don't know, like it almost acts as kind of like a dual like balancer between those two worlds, you know?
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
I? Do you still want this screen up, or shall I take this down now?
No, look, here, I'll share this kind of picture I have up of kind of how I have this like,
Okay.
hold on. I'll figure out if I can switch the, oh, right there. So yeah, but this is kind of like my understanding of how it kind of work out in a way. So basically we have like the highest resonating on Pluto up here, right? And then
Yep.
we have Neptune, and then we'd have with Saturn would be like any sort of structure. So Saturn is like the baller, the fact that this made an actual egg. Because so basically the way that I see it is like pure Pluto would almost be like Aries in a way, and pure Neptune would be like before like there's any sort of pattern to it would be like Pisces. So it'd almost be like the just the fool sort of like stretching himself out in a way or sort of creating patterns. But what I think that would do is create sparks in a way because it would create a current. So we have like the super like fast, high moving yang with the super like low moving yin. It's almost like a lightning storm if you think about it. There's all this electrical charge up here and there's all this like base or ground down here, you know what I mean? So I feel like their relationship creates sparks. But that would be like the first stage. But then like if there ends up being a sort of link between those. I feel like it's almost like a transition between Neptune working in a Pluto or Pisces way versus Neptune working in a Cancerian way. When it starts to like be working in a certain shape or a certain wave, so now the Yang has an opportunity to either stick with that or bail. Which if it sticks with that, it almost becomes like a Leo, and then we have a sort of egg energy. So instead of like the spark, it would almost start forming a shape which would be Uranus, and even like the spark would be Uranus. It just wouldn't have time. Like I view Uranus kind of as air. It just wouldn't have time to densify. It wouldn't have had an existence where it would have just been the Gemini. It would have just been the beginning. It wouldn't have had time to become like an Aquarian like pattern. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of how
It's
it is.
interesting because Uranus rules the firmament. It actually rules the zodiac itself. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
makes sense what you're saying about it correlating with air, and obviously it does because it rules Aquarius as well, which is an air sign. So
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so Aquarius is almost like the egg, I feel like, and Saturn is almost like the fully fledged star. So it's almost that's why I view Saturn as Earth and Aquarius as air, because Aquarius is like the spark, right when the yin and the yang, yeah, I guess I can put it up here, have a sort of connection, like right when the yin and the yang have a sort of connection, we're gonna have like a sort of air or a sort of environment happening in between them. It's just like if it's gonna last or not. Like if it's not Leo and Cancer or Scorpio and Sag, there's not going to be a lasting pattern. Because with like Leo is going to be kind of fixed on something and he's going to think like, man, there's a lot of ways I can expand here. Like I'm in this lane, but I don't feel like this lane is like locked down. You know what I mean? Where so Cancer just having that one memory that we're focused on building, like Leo and Cancer would kind of create an egg, like an Aquarius energy that would be able to become like a Saturn, like an actual Earth, like an actual like expression. Like it wouldn't just be the beginning spark. It would have had time to accumulate. Like they would have had a relationship. Just like I feel like once you get to Scorpio and Sag, now that the water is set in its ways, it's like the whole pattern is set. So now the fire has a chance just to be mutable, but its pattern's going to be the same. Like that's how I almost view life in a way. Like I almost view like pre-life as Aries and Pisces, and then like kind of development as Cancer and Leo, and then like when you're just out there as Sag and Scorpio, because we already have our setup. Like we already have our water, we already have our shape. Now we're just out there like discovering any way we can act with it, like being mutable and receptive, and not necessarily like taking control because we already like programmed our shape and programmed the water. Now we're still just trying to bring more in. You know what I mean?
So them, see them pairs you just named, they were all like fire and water pairs, if I'm not mistaken, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you said Pisces and Aries, Cancer and Leo, and Sag and Scorpio. They're all water and fire, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because as far as I see it, like I could be wrong, right? It's just kind of how I see it. Like Pluto rules fire, like as more of an arch ruler, and Neptune rules water as more of an arch ruler. Like it can exist in all these states. It's just the ruler of the yin, and pure yin comes out as water, like astrologically, and pure yang comes out as fire astrologically, right? And then I almost view Saturn and Aquarius as ruling the two balancers, earth and air, like the Andromeda principle, versus the straight yang and yin, like the egg, is ruled by Pluto and Neptune, I feel like.